Hello, good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are, and welcome to another NerdTube Star Trek episode review. This time we're here talking about Season 5, Episode 5 of Discovery, Mirrors. I am joined by some of the finest Trekkies I know, and it wouldn't be a NerdTube review without them. To my right, we've got Zam. How are you this evening?
Fantastic. I'm looking forward to talking about another episode of the greatest television saga of all time, that is Star Trek, just generally, and this series being Disco, which is pretty good.
It's not shabby. It's definitely shown, as Cheeto would say, marked improvements over the past few seasons. Speaking of, below Zam is our friend cousin Cheeto. How are you, sir?
All I have to say is I called it. 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 We'll get into it why later. I
Yep, you
freaking
sure did.
called it.
And you need to remind me. I can't wait for you. To
I said that Maul was Maul. No,
You said that
Breen.
Locke was Breen.
Locke was Breen. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Fair
Yep,
enough.
good call.
And
All
that
right.
the Breen were kind of like okay. I guess that I said that the Breen hired them, but no, the Breen are behind why they're doing this. So tomato, but the Breen are behind why they are trying to find this progenitor technology is to get out from underneath the Breen's thumb or whatever. So I can't wait to talk about that. But anyway, but yeah, doing great. I excited to talk about this episode.
Yep, you can barely contain yourself. And then to his left, we've got Ensign Donkey. How are you this week, sir?
I just wish I had taken the time to shave a little Mir Spock goatee to talk about the Mir Enterprise.
I thought that we were going to have, kind of more Mirror Universe shenanigans based on the title, but instead they went a different angle with it, and I like it. I think it worked from like a kind of a literary point of view, kind of trying to, once again tying in with the theme of connections, which this show loves so much, showing the two relationships and dynamics, how they mirror each other. I thought was just a fun touch.
I agree. I also think it was a great use of, hey, let's save some budget by using the Strange New World set one more time.
Yep.
Which I'm not mad
classic. At. It's classic Trek to reuse sets.
Erase that U and put an I. We're good.
Yep. Nah, you can just cross it off and write it over. Nobody will notice.
I mean, like that's what Boimler would do.
You made me very much aware of that. Now you said it, but I give them credit that I personally wasn't aware of it, which was good on them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, that was a smart move. But yeah, I felt it was a fun episode this week. Kind of watching as our intrepid heroes charge in behind Locke and Maul, trying to chase them down, end up finding the ISS Enterprise inside the wormhole, and then ending up, trying to talk them down and eventually have to work to kind of together to get off the ship.
That's the one thing though that I really thought this episode was not great for is the fact that they it was in the previews. So if you didn't watch any previews, you wouldn't went into this blind and not known you would have seen the ISS Enterprise. But I think one of the first trailers, you could see the silhouette of the Enterprise in one of those trailers. So it wasn't a shock for me that the ISS Enterprise was in there. And that's my own fault for watching the trailers or whatever. Every now and then I'll watch a trailer reaction where they kind of break some things down. This is one of those instances where I kind of wish I didn't. And, it kind of makes me wonder, should I be watching? Because I probably would have marked out even more if I would have seen the ISS Enterprise when they went in there. You know what I mean? So
they give too much away in the trailers.
What was these trailers? Were they on YouTube or on television or what?
I think it was just a trailer that they released for the fifth season.
Yeah. You'd see it on Paramount Plus. You'd see it anywhere.
Yeah, you would see it on, yeah.
Okay, you can't use the net and avoid them.
Luckily for me, I was very lucky though because I never came across those trailers, and I'm very happy I didn't. And I was very happy to see the ISS Enterprise. That was lovely. And in a way, I'm glad that was kind of like the only member berry for the entire episode. It was nostalgia used wisely, not for the sake of it. Overall, this was the one episode where I was a little bit confused regarding how we got there. like what was in the last MacGuffin to get us to that MacGuffin, and how did they know? Oh yeah, they were following Enterprise. That's how they know. And so
No, they were
they were ahead.
following Maul and Locke, and that's how they got in there.
Yeah,
But
Maul and
Maul and
Locke
Locke
didn't
got
know
to
that was
them
going
by
to be there.
following Disco.
So,
Yeah.
who knew what about where the MacGuffin was? That's what I'm wondering. Like how did they know it was there? Was it Maul and Locke who knew it was there, and how did they know, or was it Enterprise who knew it was there and they just happened to be following Maul and Locke? I was totally surprised. Like, oh, we need to go into a wormhole into the mirror universe. To go.
I
That's
think
where the
last week they
next.
said something about coordinate. Was it coordinates that they had,
They
or
found
They had
coordinates.
arrived
Yeah.
at those coordinates and didn't see anything initially until they, the science ones recalibrated the sensors and everything. But that begs the question, Maul and Locke aren't exactly been shown to be super scientific minded. How did they find the wormhole before Disco?
They did something sciencey
plot, man.
with Zora, and they recalibrated something, and then you got to see Space's pulsating butthole.
See, I don't really look at it as a wormhole. I look at it as like a giant space bag, because like you go in the
Space
like
bag?
wormhole. Well, yeah, because like with a wormhole, I feel like there's an entrance and then there's an exit. With this, it felt like there was like an entity in space, but the only way to get out was by going
Did they call it a
back from
pocket
the way you got in.
universe at one point?
They said that that the wormhole
Yeah,
led
space bag,
to
pocket
a
universe.
pocket universe, or like a
Basically,
I
pocket.
like that they're kind of venturing out of our galaxy a little bit.
Maybe not a pocket universe, but more like a like an
Said
interspatial
extra-dimensional,
eddy
so
or
space.
something.
Like it's a
Yeah.
wormhole that
Leads to nowhere, but it leads to like this this
it's a
space
a
between
long, slow
space.
highway that they could pull in, see the Enterprise, dock. Oh, we lost another shuttlecraft. I want to go back and count how many shuttlecrafts has each Trek show lost.
And why were people flying into that thing in the first place? Like what was all that about? Like there was so much wreckage in there. Like how was there wreckage? Like in a way, what was causing the wreckage? I mean, we never really came across anything that caused damage. We just saw wreckage, if you know what I mean.
I think fitting through the opening caused damage.
Yeah, well, the other thing Daniel Vance brings up here, I was going to get to the comments, but he does say the wormhole might have led to the mirror universe before the burn, which they said affected it. Because that's true. They did say that the burn affected the wormhole. Like the matter and antimatter was making it open and close. And so it might have been a wormhole that led to the mirror universe, which is because
the mirror universe was spreading apart from the prime universe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It has been since the first interaction, because as the multiverse veers, it keeps just getting further and further. So yeah, I don't know. Just a couple comments here from Daniel Vance while we're having an awkward silence. He gives us the Vulcan salute. Episode was dedicated to Alan Red Marcita, who was a lead set dresser for I'm guessing Disco DSC, just Disco. I'm guessing he passed away on August 22nd, and he also said green eyes are just different and see it. He was able to see it because his green eyes were different. Okay.
Oh, like Saru had heightened senses.
I do want to, if we're not going in any particular order, I do want to address the fact, though, that I thought Saru died in the mirror universe, and in this episode they
made it
were
out
insinuating that, huh?
They made it out to sound like that.
Well, remember in the mirror episodes in season 1, they made it sound like Burnham was like eating Saru because they brought Kelpian, to the meal.
Well, the Terrans looked like they wanted to eat anybody. He told you the truth. They wanted to eat that guy. That is it, Linus, or one with the big eyes.
Yeah,
Linus.
Like Giorgio had her mouth was watering looking at him.
That's true. but that's what I mean. Like I thought that they said that, and maybe it was another Kelpian, and I'm just misremembering. It's been a hot minute since I watched season 1, but I'm just like I felt like Saru died in the mirror universe. And
speaking of where they bring up Saru on that plaque, Do any of you feel like it was a missed opportunity? They didn't bring up Mir Spock and how he kind of led a rebellion.
I think they
against
missed an opportunity to do a Mirror Spock version of
Ethan Peck.
Ethan
Mhm.
Peck's version, where like they
I
bring
was
up
I
this, like,
was hoping that he would pop out as a cameo, and
yeah, and then
we
like
just
you know
had
he'd
the
have the
set.
beard and the goatee and
Yeah,
everything.
yeah.
I thought that would have been a great
Because
little.
as
No.
soon as the episode was over, I looked up on the wiki like what happened with Mir Spock, and he makes reforms, and then there's a Klingon Cardassian alliance
Yeah, that
that
leads into
ends the
DS9.
Terran Empire.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah, the Klingon Cardassian, and I guess the Ferengi, I think, are a part of it. Maybe like they're not
Mm.
like I don't know, but yeah. Mage is looking at us like he's
complicated.
like, "Do not make me turn this podcast around."
We're conjecturing. I do feel like
No,
it
just
was
see
kind of
where
a
it's
missed
going.
opportunity. We could have seen the Ethan Peck mirror Spock, but
Yeah.
like kind of
Instead, we got more first time with Book and Burnham.
Yeah,
yeah.
and
Well,
I'm. Oh, go ahead.
it's always Michael Burnham and somebody needs to join me for
And
this,
And
that was
friend.
this, and friend, or
And
possibly friends.
I was actually telling Zam earlier through Facebook. I'm like, I'm not gonna harp on it because we all know it. It's a discoveryism, and I'm not gonna harp on it. So I'm like, that's my one mention. Is yes, that is another Burnham and
Yeah,
friend episode.
I think overall, I mean, even though we can bring it up, it doesn't necessarily have to be negative or positive. It's just what it is. And overall, what matters most is, are we enjoying the show, regardless of this obvious particular fact? And yeah, I think I'm actually having a good time with season 5 so far. You know,
I'm enjoying it so far. Are
yeah,
we halfway through? It's episode
yeah,
5, right?
yeah,
Yeah, this
halfway
is
through
it.
already.
Which,
So
speaking of, I kind of felt. Oh, sorry, real quick. I felt like this episode should have been earlier in the season because it gives a lot of backstory to Maul and Locke, and it
No,
would
they
have been
do that
nice
a
to
lot
see
where they
that
wait a couple
early on.
episodes. They do that a lot though in story in a lot of shows. They wait till like several episodes after they've been introduced to like keep the mystery going. How are they together? What's their
I feel like
purpose?
it would have
Actually, a lot of times
benefited.
they wait till like several, like only 2 or 3 episodes before the end before they explain the main antagonist main story. So I don't disagree with you. I think that it would have been fine if they showed it earlier, but that doesn't surprise me at all that we're getting it
Yeah.
right now.
yeah, that's kind of one of those staples of modern storytelling: milk the mystery as long as possible.
Mm-hmm.
But on the point of Michael Burnham and Comrade, and then showing us so much about Maul and Locke and giving us the exposition, I both we couldn't have, the intersection of that I felt like was really what they were really trying to go for this episode, and I just felt like they're necessary evils, so to speak, for them to make this episode happen and do what they were going for with it. So, but we did. What I think worked about the exposition, though, is how it's done with dramatic irony. Book and Michael don't really know the whole story, the one that we as the audience got to see. So they're able to build kind of maybe some sympathy towards them with the audience without running the risk of, worrying about the characters starting to sympathize with them and softening their stance and how they're acting towards them. So I
Actually,
felt
I agree with you, Mage. The fact that Michael had no idea about Spock's face, Mirror Universe's Spock's face turn, and how he did try to change. I think that's a good thing because people are blissfully unaware and all of that. I mean, they're in a large universe. Make them unaware. Make them not everybody needs to know everything, and I think that's part of the coolness of all of this, that she never knew, that she would probably assume that Mirror Universe Spock would also be a tyrant.
Like she points over to Spock's station on the bridge, like, oh, that's where my brother's station would have been. That could have been a moment where they pull up his mirror picture of Leonard Nimoy, even if they didn't want to pay Ethan Peck and lose that budget.
I think it would cost them more to put Leonard Nimoy on there. I mean, I guess if they pull direct image from the episode before, but
Yeah.
yeah,
I think it would. I
Because they
think
keep
having
putting that picture of the progenitor lady or person up.
Oh, you mean at the
Yeah.
okay at the end? I'm sorry, I missed that part.
I think for a start, not having Ethan Peck was a good thing because Ethan Peck is a younger Spock, and this period, this is post Leonard Nimoy Spock. So to have Ethan Peck
That's
play
true.
Leonard Nimoy would have been a bit weird. So I'm glad.
Yeah, good point.
Stepping on his toes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so I mean, yeah, but a picture of the original, you could do like Donkey said, a picture of the original Leonard Nimoy mirror Spock, just like they, as I said, just like they did with Leonard Nimoy in season 3 when Burnham was looking up, her brother's
exactly like that.
whole life. Like that was just a picture of Leonard Nimoy from, I don't remember what
it was
Star
just
Trek.
him, and I think it was him in the Romulan garb while he was working on TNG to bring them together. Yeah,
the last time they showed him on like his last appearance in the TV series. Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Well, okay.
So yeah, do we want to like give like maybe some overall impressions, like, or did that ship sail?
I once again I found there was no subplot really other than I guess the subplot was Mole and Lark, their backstory, because they did try to do some subplots here. There was a little bit on the bridge when it came to them being on the other side and keeping an eye out for Michael and Book. Not really, there was not much there, and that was obviously to do with the main plot. But there was also this thing with Tilly
and Culber.
Yeah,
I wanted to talk about that. I'm glad you brought it up.
And that really was nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Like Culbert seemed to be a little bit busy on the bridge, and Tilly was just doing some repairs, and she picked up on maybe some anxiety within Culbert, and
that was in
have a
sick
chat
bay,
with it.
yeah.
I'm sorry, I apologize.
Fine.
That's what I meant. And he said he was fine, and obviously he just needed somebody to talk to, and somebody other than his husband to talk to, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And remind us that he died, and he's back, and now more weird stuff has happened to him.
He's gone through some. I mean, the guy is like, he's Starfleet Jesus.
He wouldn't
died
have an existential crisis after all that stuff.
Starfleet Jesus is made of mushrooms.
If anything, he probably wishes he was back in. He could go back in time so he could have a chat with Spock, so he could find out what it's like to be resurrected. But regardless, him also now having another entity in him as well. That he's gone through some crazy stuff. These last couple of seasons.
more than just the entity of Stamets in him.
Yeah. Hello, Commodore Productions. Hello, Jim.
Thanks for joining us.
I mean, overall, yeah, I'll just go next. I mean, but the season so far is good. I would say that yes, the Discoveryisms are still going, but for the most part, the adventure of the week kind of, it's kind of about taking us on this wild ride that I don't mind. It's not exactly what I wanted, but it's good enough that I'm not mad about it. I'm not, I'm entertained. So,
I think, if you don't mind me interjecting, I think the payoff is what's concerning me. We're talking about like the meaning of life here with the way they're going on, like how everything began, and how are you going to pay that off? By episode 10.
I think I think it's all gonna blow up. I think
that's what I was about to say.
They can't let anyone keep that.
Yeah,
no.
we can't. We got to destroy it. We've got in the wrong hand the Breen
Oh,
coming after
you can
us.
trust the Federation with it. No, you can't trust anyone with that.
I was about to say we learned from Picard season 3. You can't trust the Federation with anything.
The Breen doing their bloody what's it called? Daft Punk cosplay. They're coming after us right now. Do it faster, longer, stronger. Let's just get rid of it. You know what I mean? So yeah, exactly, around the universe. So yeah.
What did you think of the inclusion of that scene that the guys have been talking about, the Culber scene? Adam?
Culber. I think it was warranted to acknowledge that, yeah, he's gone through a lot, and I think part of this series has been acknowledging, like, hey, the wounds aren't just on the surface and we treat it with a hypo spray. They've done a lot throughout this series to talk through some of the mental health that goes along with being on a crazy spaceship adventure, and what that could how that could even possibly relate to us here in the present time. So I appreciate that. I think that's a good thing. Um, like even with why do I always forget their name? They brought the little spider thing on the ship.
Oh,
Adira.
Adira.
Indira, yeah, where they were expressing guilt over the fact that they brought it on board, and they kind of addressed that hey, it's not your fault. So
No, I
I am.
definitely think
Sorry, go on.
I was just going to agree with Ensign Donkey that that's one of the strengths of the show is admitting that there are effects that last after the adventure of the week on these people, and they're not these like kind of stoic paragons that can, endure all this stuff with zero trauma. But I also appreciate that the scene with Adira and Paul was just the one little scene, one tiny thing, and we moved on from it instead of harping on it. What were you going to say, Sam?
I just think the scene with Colbert and Tilly, like, more on Colbert's side regarding what he's going through, just felt very quick and okay. Let's just talk about it and move on from it immediately. Like, I can understand him, like with him being resurrected and that we're moving on from that, but with him obviously having another entity in him, he might be feeling a bit weird for a little while, for an episode or two, and then we can see that anxiety in him, and then maybe talk about it a little bit later. But it just felt so quick. It felt so rushed how they did it. Like, we just saw one
Yeah.
scene in the sick bay at the beginning, and none of that stuff was brought up until the very end, when they were
There,
when they were in 10 backwards. You know what I
yeah,
mean? So
I
yeah.
suspect that there's some stuff left on the cutting room floor, and this was maybe a C plot that they thought
I
of trying to do, but didn't flesh it out
Well,
enough for the sake of runtime.
if
if we could talk about, sorry, go on, Donkey.
well, just to circle back to something Cheeto said, um, you were saying how um, you're okay with this season, I guess, right, earlier,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yeah, I
not.
said that.
I guess it's we have to keep in mind that they've added some scenes after they found out this was the last season, and that's why I keep trying to remind myself is that would they have still gone in this direction if they knew that this was the last season? And I think there would have been some different or some changes.
I don't know. I do like the fact that I do think it is ending on a big note. And that's what Discovery always is. They always keep upping the ante. Like every season. I mean, they said that that this season felt like more of a ground, like when I was watching some interviews and stuff, like they said this season was going to be more grounded, more not universe threatening. I'm like, no, this is pretty, like, it's, yes, it's not a lawnmower in space. Yes, it's not the burn, but you, yeah, I mean, that's what Zam and others were calling it
It's not affecting the average person on a planet
right now. But
as
I mean,
much,
yeah.
but
So,
it
but
could be devastating,
exactly. So I still think
which is
the stakes are
intriguing.
super high at this point. So that's why I'm like, I still think this is pretty par for the course for Discovery. So it's not.
Watch the disheveled corpse
It's,
of
it's,
the
it,
Borg Queen go and find that technology.
it's a treasure hunt. I would love for one of these pieces to be in the ball cube. That would be awesome. I mean, what better place to hide it than in the
We
fucking?
can't.
No,
They
we
haven't
can't.
touched the Borg, have they?
No, they haven't. And I think
Discovery
look,
is not. No, they've mentioned the Borg, but they've never
Sure.
and
actually.
considering the Discovery crew would be totally oblivious to them, I think
I don't.
Oh, yeah,
they
they
were
skipped
bringing in
all of
because the
that.
Borg have been. Look, I know some people have had their fair share of the Borg, and I think that they were pretty much used for Picard. So people got fed up of that, for all 3 seasons in some capacity,
Yeah, I
and
agree.
yeah, so I can understand that, but I think regarding Discovery, I think the Borg is more than valid to make an appearance, especially a 32nd century version of the Borg, as well
Maybe a
as
cameo.
obviously. Well, and you got the good guy version too, as well. With what's her
Mhm.
face.
That
Yeah,
would
Yeah,
be
Ronnie
so
interesting to
Borg.
see them kind of not course correct, but kind of show where that led 900 years
yeah,
later,
Yeah,
so
or
people wanting
800
to
years
be
later.
people willing to be assimilated willingly. I
Which,
want to be assimilated. No, I volunteer as tribute. Like,
because they've
um,
got like 2 or 3 more pieces to collect, I guess.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
And
I'm sure that they'll get the last piece on episode 7 or 8, and then the last 2 or 3 episodes will be getting the progenitor tech and
well,
stopping whether it's the Breen or Mullen Locke or whoever from using it.
but
Um,
isn't it some sort of glorified key what they're creating? Yeah, that's
Looks
Probably,
like it.
yeah.
so so where the hell is the door?
So that's
You
what I think.
know,
I think the final piece is going to lead them to the door. So they're going to have all the pieces, and then they're going to go to the door.
Probably find the ruins of the progenitor planet and see maybe hints of their civilization. That would be cool. That would be a nice trope to tick off, the
Yeah.
ancient ruined
no,
civilization.
it's going to be computer end program.
Oh no! Don't do it. Listen, Jonathan Frakes needs to come back and play one of the progenitors, like or whatever, like one of the progenitors, like in a holographic message. I'm telling you, Frakes needs to be in this show in some small capacity, just so he can be
He's
on every single
directed.
show.
But they leave him with the beard. He's the only progenitor to have any like secondary sex characteristics.
He's like,
Sexy
I am the original
characteristics.
progenitor that had the idea to seed the galaxy.
Of
Riker
course it was
seeded the
right.
galaxy, of course.
Hold on, let me read Daniel Vance's comments really quick. Since we're talking about progenitor technology, I wish there was more study of the MacGuffin and theories. It just feels bland. A puzzle only receiving the bland. A puzzle only receiving the puzzle. Okay. But now we have a liquid
Yeah, there's
too.
some
I
random
require
vial.
more from the artist. I mean, the liquid I think is just a clue to lead to the next spot more than likely. Like every key piece has a clue that leads to the next spot. So
I
you have
don't
to
know.
have something that leads to the next spot. Otherwise, you'd have no idea where to go.
So in my opinion, the liquid is going to be from a particular water source on a particular planet,
I think it's
and
DNA. I think it's DNA
oh
from a
really?
particular race.
Mm.
Okay.
I think it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be Zamsplooge. They're gonna come to London.
Let's talk about Space Seed.
Yeah,
It's
like this is a space seed of a Londoner from the 21st century.
Because even though I wasn't hosting tonight, I did have to watch this episode twice because I really felt there was a lot of stuff that went over my head regarding the overarching story of them trying to achieve this universal goal of this tech. And regarding the quest for it, I still was a bit lost in how they ended up where they ended up and all of that sort of stuff. I think the vial at one point I had no idea where that came from. Then I realized it was inside the MacGuffin all along. So yeah, so it's gonna be interesting to see what it contains. And Mullen Luck, yeah, they in my opinion are the main antagonists of this series. They're going to be the thorn in their side. They're not going to be like some major antagonists like we've had in the past. This time around, it's going to be the opposite effect where they just can't get them. They're always ones. It just seems to be just
it's the cat and mouse.
yeah,
Yeah,
they're
Space
very
Bonnie and Clyde are too slippery.
yeah, they were very elusive and all of these sort of things, and they just keep getting away and all of this sort of stuff. So that's where I think that's how they're going to be pretty much, and then they're going to have to come to their senses regarding. I think they're going to get the MacGuffin. They're going to have it all, and it'll be up to them to do the right thing. hopefully maybe Book will appeal to Maul's better nature. Hopefully, even though he tried to in this episode, and she hated her dad. The one
Yeah.
Book actually admired.
I could see them going that like Maul's the girl, right? I keep on getting those two.
Yeah, Maul's the girl. Yeah,
I think Maul's gonna die. I think they're gonna have the MacGuffin, and I think Maul's gonna die, and that's gonna make Locke kind of like flip. You know what I mean? Like, and he's gonna want to help the Federation rather than trying to give it to the Breen, because I think the Breen are eventually going to show up to to basically take over for Maul and Locke, and I think, or they're going to get it all. They're going to take it to the Breen, and then the Breen are going to kill Maul, right? Yeah, Maul,
Yeah.
and then Locke is going to turn on it. Like I can just see, because the way they're building this, in my opinion, I feel like they're going to kill. I feel like they're going to kill one of Maul and Locke, and the other one is then going to turn. You know what I mean? Like, just.
And they've been setting it up for him to be the more reasonable of the pair and be the one that's more inclined to turn themselves in and such.
Right.
So that would track. Or they could subvert it on us and have him just do a complete lose it when she dies.
Yeah, regardless, I think she's going to die. And like, I think either that, or I think that he's going to try to kill his own race. Like, he's, instead of turning in against the progenitor tech against the Federation, I think then if they kill Maul, then I think Locke is going to unleash the progenitor tech on the Breen Imperium and like devastate
That'd be a
it.
Twist.
Because we saw what happened when they gave us that little hint in last week's episode, when they were in the future, and you saw like, the Breen had destroyed Starfleet HQ and all that other stuff. So I think we're kind of gonna get that prophecy flipped on its head, where something that's just where I see this going. I could be completely wrong. Like, I could be 100% wrong.
But... Look, I want to talk about the subplot of this episode, which was Maul and Locke meeting each other in that spaceport, that little section for some reason, and then having their little fun and games and shenanigans. Well, they're beating the shit out of each other, and there's a guard about a meter away standing looking the opposite direction.
They explained at the end there was a cloak in between those containers.
Well, I thought the cloak was only just to hide them two near the end, but why would there be a cloak to
at the very beginning, before they started dating?
Yeah, exactly. Like, because you saw another guard, like when she was testing him and they were fighting,
he's like, let me.
It's the cloak of love.
Oh,
all of that, and the Breen being some sort of like some sort of like what's the terminology? Like they're like space police. No.
Oh.
They're like customs.
Space royalty?
Yeah, they're space customs. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, checking the purity of the goods.
They're the space Targaryens. I mean, I didn't understand that though. They had the two faces. They had the gelatinous face,
which looks like a gummy bear. I wanted to chew on it.
The gummy bear.
Fresh Haribo, straight out the mold.
So that's the one thing that's escaping me. Like, so they have a gelatinous face, and then they have a solid face, but
like they can make their face go solid.
So are
other
they
people
changelings, or are they
changelings light?
No, they're not changelings, because they have two faces. They're not. They can't change their face. It's who they are. But even then, the two faces are really the same face. It's just in different forms. One looks like a gummy, and one looks like a pastel. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
one
nice
gummy.
It's like they put pigmentation into their skin.
I'm wondering which face Kira Nerys saw when she killed the Breen and took their mask. That's what I'm wondering. Because like they're like, oh, you've never seen Breen before. Kira Nerys has seen a Breen. She killed a Breen, and she took their clothes.
I mean, she could have at that particular point, she could have made a record if she had a tricorder. Did she?
I don't know. Probably not. They were on Cardassia. I think they were on Cardassia Prime at that point. I think.
Yeah, she was on her mission to help train them as insurgents, right?
But I mean, she still could have reported it, taken the mask off, and like, huh?
Yeah, done like a character sketch profile or something.
All I know,
So-
all I know is like you see all of a sudden Garrick walks around the corner, sees her chewing on like their head. It's like a gummy bear.
Mhm. I was just, I was just thinking regarding the Breen. Like, did the burn affect them? It must have.
Hello, Suzanne.
Hello, Susan. Nice to see you. The burn must have affected them as well. Yeah.
I mean, unless they adopted one of those other technologies that everyone else was using.
Because they were in a
That's
part.
a
Yeah.
I don't know, a disappointing part. They bring Discovery into the future in season 3 with no dilithium. They copy the spore drive in season 4. Oh, the only prototype gets destroyed, and we're shuttering the program because of another means of travel that they've maybe mentioned in the first episode, but haven't shown us.
The Spore
Everyone
Drive
else is
is
still
so
using
awesome.
warp
Yeah, the
drive.
Spore Drive is beyond awesome. Like, you don't just shut down the Spore Drive.
Like,
You figure out a way with other people
yeah,
using it. With a book, if Book and Stamets can use it, you have to just put all your resources in making it more universal.
yeah, it
You
should have just
know,
been made universal. Oh, we had one prototype, but the data should still be there for them to make another one.
and this is tech. This is tech from like the 23rd or 4th
Yeah, they
century, and
should
now
have been
they're in the
able to
32nd
just
century.
do a
So like
detailed
this,
scan of the ship and
yeah,
say, all right, we printed
yeah,
one at the shipyard.
exactly.
Hey, that
So
makes too much sense.
I know, I'm trying to apply too much law.
Yeah,
Contrivance.
no more logic from you. No more logic from you.
so So yeah, that's just regarding the spore drive. But like the Bream weren't even a hint once Discovery came into the future,
Now they've
and
mentioned the
now,
brain once or twice, but yeah, they didn't seem like that big of a deal.
well, I mean, like they're only really
It,
becoming a big deal now. Like personally, even if they might have mentioned them until this season, I had no idea that they were even a thing. And now that we seen them, they look like they're some massive entity. Like they can cause a lot of shit. And I never really thought that before. I mean, when Osira was running rampant, the Orion Syndicate, like they seem like the
yeah.
big bad of the universe, and now we've got the Breen. Like when did that happen? Yeah,
They almost always have to have one race that's the villain of the season, and Stranger Worlds has the Gorn. Disco 5 has the Breen now, apparently.
4 was the lawnmower.
yeah.
4
Four
was
was
the people or beings outside the galaxy. 1 was the weird Klingons. I mean, it's all there.
Just going to bring up
That
2
tracks.
comments from Daniel Vance that he left a while ago, but going to get to them before we get too far off track. The barrage is hexagonal for the same reason many planets have hexagonal storms at the poles. It provides the most stability in the turbulent
darn.
flow between rotating fluid bodies, fluid mechanics. So
What are we
that's when
talking about?
Stamets was saying, "Don't worry about it, it'll work." Like I kind of like that though.
I
Like
liked that conversation they had. I liked Commander Grumpy Pants's problem solving there.
I was just about to bring him up. We can talk all about his plot this episode.
And then just really quick, Dana Vance says Locke will be the one to swap. They've went too far talking about his true face. So yeah,
Yeah, they're
And
setting that up.
before we move off from Modern Look, like I kind of also even felt their relationship was like kind of rushed and forced. If anything, Mole being this player,
Yeah.
not player, sorry, being this she
Disappointment?
no, well, Locke is part of he never he's not a career criminal like Mole is. Mole is she's like she's off like from the street, so to speak. She's the one who corrupted Locke, and in a way you would have thought that she was just playing a game in order to get Locke to come with her, and she never really gave a damn about him. She was just using him, but that wasn't obviously the case. She somehow is smitten by him. Also feels a little bit disingenuous to a degree. Doesn't feel necessarily authentic for who she is. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe she can feel love for somebody who's on the opposite side. Who knows? I don't know. I mean, I'm just
We didn't get enough time to see it for it to not feel forced, I think. But it
Yeah.
definitely does.
That's
once
why I
you
was kind of saying earlier that I feel like parts of this story, at least, should have been, sprinkled throughout earlier episodes. They crammed all of this backstory, all of this flashbacks on them in this episode, which was good story, but it would have been nice to have seen this slowly over time or earlier in the season.
I'm a big advocate of like certain shows being only 8 episodes, maybe 10 or whatever. But a show like Disco, which has, or just Star Trek in general, which is like historically always been many episodes. I think you can warrant that being the exception to the rule, and I think Disco is no different. There should have been maybe one episode dedicated solely on Mole and Lack. Like the entire episode. So we could focus on them and understand everything, and maybe make their relationship feel more authentic than what we were kind of given here.
I feel I agree with you to a point, but I feel like with the format of this season where it's like go, 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 if you have like 15, 16, even 20 episodes
No,
of
you don't
that,
need that many episodes, but 12.
But
Like you could fit.
I
like
feel like
a.
you'll be exhausted. Like,
I
that's why
think.
I'm like, I kind of, if like the first half of the season was this big race, like let's say the first 7 episodes was the race, and then like the last episodes are like the fallout from them finding the progenitor tech, but the whole season can't be the race. You'll just be
Yeah, I
exhausted.
agree. I feel like the whole season is the race. Even when it's not the race, they have bumps in the road which feel very frantic, like last week's episode with the time bug. So I do feel maybe some more character development episodes like Mole and Lark would have been warranted. But we're never going to get that because there's just only 10 episodes this season.
We're
And
gonna
5 of
need a
them have to be
baseball on the
dedicated to
holodeck
nothing.
episode. That's what we need.
I get the switch to this shorter. Well, okay, we're only 10 episodes. What did TNG have? 23, 26 episodes?
26,
Like 23,
26.
24.
Yeah. So, but we've seen other series and other shows do it where they could have if they had been looking big picture at season 5, they could have introduced Maul last season, just in a side story, and shown that relationship with Book and the original Cleveland Booker and his daughter, and explained that then and put the seeds. They're not very good at planting those seeds and having a long multi-season overarching story, or planting something and bringing it back later.
Yeah,
Which
I
this
agree
would
with
have
you.
really
Babylon 5,
benefited
get out
from.
of here.
I'm talking like Mage, you can appreciate this. Doctor Who with River Song. That was
Yes.
multiple seasons, multiple showrunners that they planted the seed
Yes.
of that character.
That was a good thing.
Yeah.
That was a great
That was
thing.
Voldemort's ex-wife.
So that was Riverbank. That was a great thing. Yes. This isn't the Doctor Who podcast.
I know.
He's
No.
trying to use a different sci-fi example to show what could have been had they been a little bit more focused on multi-season
big
payoff,
picture.
but they're very concerned with telling this one season like kind of anthology type story.
Well, no, you're right.
Good for
but it is
DVD,
just
good
the
for
writing.
Blu-ray sales.
Yeah, it's just the writing. They're not forward thinking. They're not saying, "Hey, let's introduce these characters in season 4, and then we can bring them back in season 5 in a bigger way." You know what I mean? Like they're not thinking that way.
Also, by the way, were any of you kind of surprised that that there was a holo emitter in sickbay? I mean, for that particular enterprise.
Computer activate the emergency medical holographic program.
Yeah, and there's like a nice version of Dr. McCoy, because obviously he has to be different.
Less racist.
And he gets picked on and stuff like that. If anything, he's like all Greenpeacey and stuff, and he gets bullied around, but he's not because he has to be totally different.
Listen, if Carl Urban would have came in and done that, I would have taken everything back I've ever said bad about Disco. If Carl Urban would have shown up and been like that.
He's Calvin, though. We haven't met the Strange New Worlds version of McCoy yet.
Okay, but that's the younger version we have right now is Carl Urban.
But that would be a really cool tie-in if
regardless,
they brought
like
Carl Urban.
they shouldn't be a hollow emitter on
No.
that version of
Oh no,
Enterprise.
no, I don't think so.
What the hell was that? I mean, it was a clever thing when you saw the like all these different versions of Mullen and Locke in there. I thought that was pretty cool, but the emitter.
Why are they using the mobile emitter? Or they're relying in that scene with the multiple versions of them. They're relying on the 23rd century ISS Enterprise rather than mobile emitters that Voyager perfected.
Well, Voyager didn't really perfect it. I mean,
well, but
they stole that.
They used
32nd century technology, allegedly.
No, that wasn't 32nd. That was like 27th, I thought.
What? Oh, mobile emitters.
The time ship. Like
I thought the mobile emitter was 27th century.
It came from that time ship from the episode with Ed Begley Jr. and Sarah Silverman.
Yeah, but that time ship was from the 27th century.
Was it?
I'll look. I gotta know. Anyway, in the mirror universe, it'd be Andy Dick, the emergency holographic.
God, the fact that he was
I'm
the Mark
deactivating
II,
myself.
Could we permanently deactivate Andy Dick? And I don't mean the hologram.
Yeah.
Okay. But no, any other things we want to talk? What about Maul's backstory, her solo backstory, and her kind of sob tale to book, the backstory that our characters actually did learn about? Did that seem rushed too?
Which part?
Or when Maul was explaining how, the growing up on the planet and her mom having to go to work in the mines and everything, and I was expecting the violin to come out and
I mean, tragic backstory for tragic character. I mean, it's 29th century, so we were all wrong. We were like right in the middle. I was 27th, you were 32nd. Split the difference. 29.
You won by Price is Right rules.
Yes. Ba, 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 ba. Anyway, what were you saying, Mage? I'm sorry. I'm trying
I was
not
gonna
to
say
hijack your whole thing.
If we've got nothing else about their backstory reveals, hey, there. Welcome back, Zam.
Sorry, I do apologize.
No need to apologize, good sir. Just
Sam
happy
had to close
have
all
you
his
back.
Pornhub tabs.
They crashed the computer and he had to restart.
I missed what you guys were talking about. What were you saying?
I was just asking for final thoughts on the Maul, kind of her backstory reveal of how she grew up on the planet and her mom got the job in the mines and all that. Did you feel like they handled that maybe a little bit better, or was it kind of cliched as well?
I'm not really happy the fact that Maul is connected with Book just generally, but at the same time, I am happy that Maul doesn't look at Book's father the same way. Maul doesn't look at her father the same way Book does, or what Book looks at him as some sort of hero. She looks at him as a piece of crap, and I think that's pretty cool in a way. It's not too cliched. Overall, though, just them having this sort of connection. And I knew that connection was going to come into play, but with this with an episode eventually, because they want that, they want a connection in the first place was a silly thing because it makes the universe feel smaller. I said this last week. Like not everyone needs to be connected with everybody. But I think they only do this for the sake of story and for some emotional storytelling. So
how many couriers are there that they know each other?
But and
they're smugglers, not couriers. I don't know why they call themselves that.
And even so, I feel like it's very, very coincidental that Book what happened to be on Discovery when they ran into Maul and Locke, and then Cleveland Booker.
I know her.
I know her. Like honestly, like I would have forgiven it halfway if like they figured out the connection between her and Booker, and then they went to Cleveland Booker about her. You know what I mean? Like it just he so happens to be there and he recognizes her and blah blah. It's like, or how
convenient.
It's very convenient. Like if they would have like found out, wow, he's a wait, she's an associate of Cleveland Booker, or like they thought that it was his daughter because it says that, but then they went to him and he's like, no, that's Cleveland Booker the fourth, the person's namesake I took over. Like it just would have been less happenstantial. You know what I mean? Like it would have given another reason for Book to come back in. And yes, it's still coincidental, and you're right, it does make the universe still a little bit smaller, but it would have felt a little bit more natural that way rather than, oh, Cleveland Booker happens to be here and he happens to recognize her and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. So, and I think that's pretty much it, I guess, regarding this episode. I got not much more to add.
I liked Commander Grumpy Pants this episode. He was okay. Like
real quick about Rainer and then throw up the poll.
Sure.
I mean, I didn't mind Rainer. I thought he's growing on me a little bit. Not like Shaw, but he's still. I think he's kind of starting to wiggle his way into his place, in the crew, and it does feel a little forced.
In the chair.
He did sit in the chair. It does feel a little forced, but they only have 10 episodes, so I don't blame them for that.
Did people compare Shaw and him? But they are nothing. They're nothing alike. When you look at what
they're both grumpy. That's
well, I mean, Shaw's more by the book.
Ways.
Grumpy in different ways, yes.
Shaw's more by the book, but Rainer isn't necessarily by the book. But he has his own way of doing things, which is not necessarily the right way of doing things. The same way maybe that could be said by the book Shaw, but that's about it. And obviously, Shaw had a grudge against Picard.
Booker has a grudge as well.
Booker or Rainer?
Book.
Well, regarding Rainer,
it's the cat's name's Grudge. Never mind. Keep going.
Oh God. Yeah, and Rainer doesn't seem to have a grudge. He just, they're very different. They're totally different. It's just that I am a big advocate of having people who do things differently, who are very alternative to how most Starfleet characters tend to be, which are a bit too goody two shoes for my liking. It'd be nice, and as I said earlier, it would be nice for people to have an alternative way of doing things, to sometimes be right in their alternative way. So it justifies why they think like that. If they're always wrong, then why do they think like that? You know what I mean? So yeah. So yeah. Before we mark it, I just want to mention I was just checking on Twitter, and our good friend Admiral Teabag left a couple of tweets out regarding this particular episode. He first of all wrote,
"It's so woke.
Holy shit! This is dumber than I thought. Star Trek Discovery reaches a new low every minute it exists." And then he also wrote, "Well, this particular episode is not Star Trek. Starts with all sorts of warnings. They will have some profanity tonight. Yeah, that's why I watch Trek." I mean, he's being sarcastic, but the point is,
warning was seizure warning.
Well, the point is that you still watch it. You are advocating for this by watching it. If you really want to, if you really dislike what you're watching, genuinely, we're critics, and certain things don't always flow for us. But if you are at this level of dislike, then stop watching. Like,
go watch Star Wars instead.
Yeah, that fan base is perfect for you.
These people are hate watchers, and they're doing this because they want to go down the hate watch route. They know this works for them. Admiral Teague is quite successful with the hate watching. He gets a lot of people who are on that hate watching bandwagon, who are allegedly Star Trek fans, but it makes no sense. If me and Cheeto were massive WWE fans, we stopped watching for a long time because we just got fed up with it, and we were criticizing it for a while, and then we just stopped watching it. Now we're voyeurs. We only watch it here now and again, and great that Vince McMahon is no longer part of the product, so it's actually more enjoyable. And it's actually more enjoyable being a voyeur, watching it now and again. And that's how we do things. But yeah, with Admiral Teague, he'll watch everything that's Star Trek that comes out and hate on everything that comes out, and it makes no sense.
Need that clickbait, baby.
Guys, yeah.
I think we should take a shot of Romulan ale every time someone says Star Trek has gone too woke.
Dude, I
But you
am
have
not
alcohol
getting
poisoning.
shit-faced right now.
I wouldn't. I mean, luckily I'm not working at the moment, but if I was working, I wouldn't be able to work the next day. So he said this episode had an opening and closing orifice. So yeah, I was thinking that it was
Listen,
all
the space
pulsating.
butthole. No. Real quick. Tilly mentioned a digestive tract at the end of the episode. So the wormhole was the space butthole. I'm calling that canon.
And by the way, that wormhole at the very end did just
Pulsating. Come
disappear.
on.
I mean, they blew it up to
It had
keep it
just eaten
wide
Taco
open.
Bell. You know
Yeah,
how it
They
is.
had it gaping,
stretched
as
it.
it were.
Yeah, they gaped
They
that
had to
butthole.
stretch it open.
Yeah,
The
they
goat
stretched
seat.
it open, and
Oh,
then
real
once,
quick, how
yeah,
they had to stretch it open to let Enterprise pass. As soon as they said that, like, oh, let them separate the saucer. Come on, let's see saucer separation one more time.
With the Connie, well, we've never seen
Yeah,
saucer
well,
separation.
they
with the
said
Connie.
that was possible, but only
Yes.
in emergencies,
Yes.
and put it back at the space dock.
Yeah, I was gonna say you couldn't just reattach the saucer to the back on
That because that would have been cool
on the Connies. Yes, you had to reattach
if
it to the space.
Maul, like, because she was fiddling with the console there, and then it makes, oh, we got the engineering sections going, we gotta separate.
That would have been good. That would have been a good way for them to escape. Like after they get through the wormhole, then they do like a hard separation of the battle section and the saucer, and then Maul and Locke take off in the battle section. That would have been.
Oh, see, that would have been cool.
Instead,
could've
what did they
gone
do?
off in
Like
the
a
star
life
drive.
pod or
They-
something? I don't remember.
It
no,
was an
they've
escape
got a
pod.
shuttlecraft. No, they got a shuttlecraft.
No, because they
Yeah.
said all the shuttlecraft were gone.
Yeah, it was some kind of battle pod, Terran universe, something. I don't know. It
I
wasn't
thought
a
it was just a
shuttle.
regular escape pod, but you'd think they would have been able to stop that or track that.
Well, the point is that by destroying that wormhole, there's a whole bunch of shit that was still inside it, and so that they'll never be able to access that again. I guess.
Well,
It's-
they got what they needed.
Until
And-
the writers want to revisit it.
Yeah, then
and-
they'll enter beacon plex or the deflector dish to open it back up.
yeah, I guess, and on top of
Technobabble,
that, now
open
there
it back up.
isn't. Now there's another Enterprise.
That's true. There is now a Enterprise in
Yeah.
the 32nd
I-
century. Everyone's got
I
to
would
have
like them
the
to
Enterprise in the
confirm
32nd century.
I would like them to confirm that the Fleet Museum still exists, so you'd have the ISS Enterprise, which was the original Enterprise, and then you got the Enterprise A.
I think they'll give it. I think they need all the ships they can get, and they'll probably give it a facelift.
Listen, no, what's going to
They
happen
should.
is because all the fan film people keep saying that Star Trek is copying them, so they're going to put Captain Menard on that Connie class. They're going to make the boson collectors or whatever it's called blue, and then that ship is going to be in active service because that's what
They should bring it
Menard did. Menard's the
That's the
USS
Constar.
Constar was brought back into active duty in TNG time, and yeah, so
I mean, that's the whole premise here with STO. We got all these young captains. We're taking the old ships out of mothballs.
Yeah, they'll do that. I know what you're on about. I know what you guys are talking about. Using the deflector dish and all that shit.
Nolan.
So yeah.
All right. So we ready to give it some final thoughts and marks, gentlemen?
yeah, I already put the poll up, so I put the
Polls
poll up a while
up.
ago.
Okay, excellent. We'll start with you, Zam.
A good episode. Solid would be a bit over the top, but a good episode of Star Trek. Nowadays, when they do swear, I mean, like, Admiral Teague obviously had an issue with the swearing. It's just how it is now. I'm fine with the odd little profanity here and there. If anything, it humanizes them and doesn't make them
Where
too
was the swear
robotic.
word?
You know,
They
call
said
this
shit
shit
a couple
and,
times.
and they mentioned that one guy was an asshole and stuff like that, which
Yeah,
is I think when Lark was talking about his uncle, about how he likes to have his shoes shined, and
but I don't think there
Morph-
was any like F-bombs or anything like that dropped.
No.
No, but I think in a way, like making not in a way previous Star Trek almost made them sound robotic by them not saying the odd bit of profanity here or there. So I actually prefer it when it's used sparingly like this because it just seems more natural, and especially as them two being a couple of like space pirates, so to speak. Like why wouldn't they not? Why would they not swear? I mean, people have no problem with Klingon swearing. Patak and all
In Klingon,
yeah, all this sort of stuff. So why do they have a
What'd you
problem
call
with
me?
people swearing in English? Not humans, just generally English. Whatever the species may be.
Well, I mean,
No
they
problem.
in Firefly they cussed in Chinese all the time.
So yeah, exactly. So it's not a big issue which Teabag makes out to be. So
Nobody cares. Why are you still bringing up Teabag, man? Just let him
I'm
go.
sorry, I got it. I just got it in front of me. I do apologize. So
Get the haters.
Yeah, forget the haters.
Yeah, but yeah, I give it. I'm gonna mark it. I'm gonna give. It's an okay episode. I don't want to. I just thought it was fine. The thing got plodding along. 7 out of 10.
Okay, Cousin Cheeto.
I'm gonna give it a little bit of higher marks because they took a big swing here, especially with the ISS Enterprise. I felt like they could have taken bigger swings, but I really felt like this episode flowed really well. And I do love the lore building because now we technically know what happened to the ISS Enterprise. So I'm gonna give it an 8. I thought it was really enjoyable. So
Instant Donkey.
7, 8, 9 contains.
Yeah.
Patak. No, I'm gonna go with a 9. I feel like they brought us back to an Enterprise. Wasn't it great to see the Enterprise and Discovery like right in front of each other one more time? I thought that was a really good kind of way to bring it back without stepping on Strange New World's toes.
And save some money.
And save some money. I saw what they were doing. But I feel like there were some missed opportunities here. Maybe if they were not having this as the last season, we would have had those opportunities, but who knows?
Okay.
And just one thing before we wrap up, I know, Mage, you have to give your numbers, but the one thing I did want to bring up just very quickly, so they insinuated at the end that all the people on the ISS Enterprise actually made it through the wormhole, just the Enterprise did it
into Starfleet?
Into the prime timeline. And who it was? Admiral Cho?
Like John Cho?
No, like what was it? Which admiral was it at the end of the episode? It might have been Doctor.
They ended up on that research team that was finding the progenitor tech.
Yeah, but I thought that they were talking about I don't know. I thought they made it sound like that Admiral Cho or whatever was somebody from the original Trek. Like that we'd be like, oh, a big reveal that this person is actually from the Mirror Universe and just was in disguise. I'd have to go back and look. I don't remember. I meant to bring it up earlier and I forgot.
Fans cry, angry retconning, and
but that's kind of
someone would have cried about it.
Yeah,
and then we would have got the comment here and had to deal with it. So anyway.
Okay. Anyway, so I just wanted to bring that up really quick before we wrap, but I'm looking it up now, but let's wrap.
What's your marking, Mage?
I came into it so stoked about the way they're once again reinforcing the series theme of connection, but not kind of beating us over the head with it. And just what they did with the title and showing the mirroring of the two different relationships and dynamics and just coming into that. I came in stoked on that, ready to give it a 9, but a lot of the thing happened where I think about it more critically, and you guys point out some flaws that I didn't see, and I'm gonna land.
Suspense.
Oh, you lagged a bit.
Suspense lag.
Oh yeah, sorry. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Am I back?
It's okay. We got you now. What did you give it?
Okay. I gave it an 8 in the end.
And Dana Vance says that I went down the rabbit hole the doctor / admiral, and came up with nothing. Okay, so maybe it just sounded so familiar. Like I'm like, I feel like that's somebody like that we knew from the Prime timeline that we would, that would be a reveal for. And the way they made it sounded like it should have been a big reveal. Anyway, I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, it would be just one more missed opportunity. But I want to thank the audience, everybody in chat, anybody comes down along the line and watches the VOD. Maybe consider subscribing to NerdTube. We've got more than just Star Trek content. Anything nerdy here is you're gonna find us talking about it when it happens. And tomorrow we talked more than just nerd stuff. We've got some current events and stuff as well. Tomorrow you do the World's on Fire. Let's talk about it podcast, right, Sam? What have we got on the docket this week? World's Gone Insane. Sorry.
Daniel Vance will be happy to know that, with St. George's Day just passed this week, the Saint of England. We're going to try and mock some of the English. So I've come up with a segment for that. You'll have to watch it to find out what that segment is. But yeah, that's going to be on tomorrow. And as well as obviously talking about some terrible things that has happened in your part of the world, like the TikTok ban, which is absolutely atrocious. And I hope it gets. It is, man. Like 150 million Americans use it. It is bad. You're taking away what people want.
I agree. Well, not to get too into it, but I agree with you. The reason behind it, just because it has to be American owned, I agree with you. That is bullshit. It's not tragic. It's bullshit, is what it is. But if TikTok just like went away one day, I would not care. I really wouldn't. Anyway,
I mean, it does good for us. We've got over 4,000 subscribers on TikTok. We don't take advantage of it enough here on our own channel. But regardless, it obviously is big news, as well as certain things that have happened in the last 7 days. We'll be talking about it, that's for sure. You're going to watch Velma season 2? Yeah. Well, oh my god, I can't believe you. I stopped. I stopped watching season 1 after 3 episodes. I refused. It was that bad, and it has to do with data protection. But that's what they say. But it's really they say that. But
we're just trying to strong arm them.
It really, like, how safe is that data? Would it be with Twitter, Facebook, Google, YouTube? I
was about to say it's all over. I think TikTok is right along.
We're not better off with a meta control.
Yeah, it's just that the US doesn't control TikTok, which is why they banned it. They want to be in control of it, and so that's the reason why they banned it. So much for the land of the free.
Yeah. All right. Wrap us, Mage.
So you've been watching another NerdTube Star Trek episode review. Thank you to my co-hosts Zam, Cheeto, and Ensign Donkey. But most importantly, thank you to the audience. You've been watching NerdTube, the greatest channel you've sorta kinda heard of. Live long and prosper.
Peace out, mother.